Okay, we're back. Chris Lano behind the camera, here with Bud Cowgill. This is episode 2 of the ResRection of the 2004 V70R that Bud picked up as a project just to save this car. He's got a lot of other projects, and yeah, in the beginning I wasn't all that pumped on him getting one, but it is cool to see that you took this on to save it because it was in some disarray when you got it, right?
Yeah, one of the worst things was the interior. I have leaned on the Volvo community and got some new seats, new carpet, 2 rear doors actually, so everything matches on the inside. There's no big rips and tears. The other Gobi interior was severely stained, the bolsters were ripped, standard stuff. So I got some new front seats off eBay and had the rears that came with the car, so now everything matches and is much cleaner at this point. Found some doors on Facebook Marketplace for the rear, so much better condition, not as many dents. There's still a couple dings and things that we need to get popped out, but a lot of the electrical issues that were happening, the window wasn't rolling down, the rear wiper didn't work, rear tailgate, things like that. I replaced the rear harness in the tailgate, and most every other thing boiled down to relays and fuses. So the only thing left is the front washer, windshield washer. I haven't figured that one out yet, but relatively cheap fixes so far. Replaced everything with Bosch relays, and of course we carry fuses, so just a couple bucks here and there, and all the electrical stuff seems to be functioning again.
Yeah, for anybody that saw episode 1, it had Gobi interior that was just absolutely hammered. I was super worried about it. But Bud went through and got seats, front and rear, carpets, cleaned up the door panels. He even got some new doors. Before this door, this whole side was really damaged. It looks 1,000 times better. Still a few little dings here and there, like Bud said, but nothing that PDR can't take care of, getting the dents out. But yeah, he's tackled a lot of stuff. I mean, there was, I would say, very few things were functioning when you got the car. Like you said, like windows weren't rolling up, lots of really weird things, modules were swapped out. You just had to kind of go back through the system and figure out what was communicating properly. We had the proper tools here to see what was on the network, right? And then you just tackled it. And now the car is functioning and driving, and it's got these 19-inch pegs on it. And yeah, it's great. So let's go ahead and take a peek under the hood and just see some of the things that you've done there really quick. All right, I know it doesn't look perfect, but some work has been done under the hood. Just we haven't done any of the beauty stuff yet. Bud's been going through and checking out. Why don't you go and tell everybody about some of the first things that you did have to tackle under the hood of the car?
Well, one of the first mechanical things I did is it was leaking quite a bit of oil. So went through, looked at all the PCV stuff. I ended up replacing the PCV system and a couple other related vacuum lines. There is a vacuum line setup that goes back here with a check valve. All of those were disintegrated. That helps pull vacuum out of the breather box. Those hoses had huge holes in them, were completely collapsed. So got a new one. We carry Volvo and APA Euro for that. Pretty basic setup. It's just vacuum lines, like I said, with a check valve. And this thing is completely dry at this point. So getting ready to turn 295,000 on it already. Put a lot of miles on this car on a daily basis. So getting that oil leak fixed and having it just be related to the PCV system was a fairly quick, inexpensive fix. I mean, we're into it a few $100 here. Now I'm not leaving spots in the driveway. It's crazy because that vacuum hose that does run on the evap system underneath this air box here was disintegrated. It just collapsed. It turned to mush. And this thing was puking oil out of most of the seals and everything like that. But once we fixed all the vacuum leaks and replaced the entire PCV system, no leaks. Yep. This thing is not leaking. I did that first. Still had a little bit of residual oil. Replaced the oil cooler on that, put new seals in it. It's completely dry now. Yeah. And we've gone through the wiring. Basically, Bud did order all the new engine pieces, all the dress-up stuff. Basically finding all the OEM parts out there where he can. Obviously, we haven't put anything on the vehicle yet just because Bud's still going through doing continuity checks, checking the coils, checking everything, look at all the wiring, fixing little wiring pieces because that stuff does get brittle under the hood. So it's not pretty right now, but it has been worked on, and I think it's doing better than anything. This thing doesn't use any oil. It doesn't burn any oil. It drives so strong, and it is so smooth
So for 295,000 miles, I cannot believe how smooth and quiet this car is. It's great. All right, so after you got done basically getting the car up to speed with no oil leaks, what did you do for lighting? I noticed that the headlights on this thing, obviously in the first episode, are good shape, and they're hard to get these days.
Yeah, I'm looking for some film to put over these just to protect them. Volvo has discontinued them. You can still find parts on eBay, and occasionally we're able to get some of these lenses from Europe, but the supply is sporadic. So I want to preserve these as much as possible. The only thing I've done for lighting is I've tossed in a pair of our PF fog lights.
The LP270s, LEDs.
Yep, so we have a kit for those. The only modification required is just to open up this fog light grill just a little bit so you can fit the larger fog light in there.
Yeah, that's a great upgrade.
All right, so now we're getting to some of the fun stuff. This is a new strut that we just added, complete with lowering springs for the R models.
It's a factory Monroe strut, right?
Yeah, it's a factory Monroe strut, R lowering coils. So these will come completely assembled, which makes install much quicker. You don't have to have a spring compressor or anything like that to do the fronts. So after I did the PCV system, I pulled into the shop here. I did leave some oil on the ground, and I was a little bit worried. We got the car on the rack. Turns out my right front strut was completely blown. It was leaking, the seal was completely blown and leaking oil off the bottom of this. So made me happy that it wasn't the PCV still after we did all that work, and it was just something as simple as a strut. So to install this, just a couple bolts, a couple nuts up top, slides right in, and then you can just plug it into the factory connector.
So you're going to be lowering this car while you're doing this at the same time with our new quick strut kit that we have with the factory Monroe 4Cs, right?
Correct.
Nice. So he's killing two birds with one stone. I know you're an enthusiast. You want it lowered. So he's going to go ahead and knock the quick struts out. It's half the time, half the labor. Don't have to really do much. Very simple. We assemble those here at IPD. So yeah, great. So he's going to lower it. Now then you got to do the back. So you have rear springs down there on the bottom that you're going to be putting on.
Correct.
So you haven't replaced the rear struts yet, which seem to be okay. They look like they're in good condition. But we will hang on the control arms and put the new springs in, and Bud will have a lowered car. It'll look more like the flash green over there here after we're done today, especially with the 19-inch pegs.
Yeah, this gives us a chance as well to inspect the control arms, end links, things of that sort. We did put new end links on here because one of the sides was very worn out, so we won't have to replace those. But since we have the car on the lift, everything apart, we'll be able to look at the ball joints and control arms, which carry HD options for those as well if they turn out to be failed.
All right, why don't you let some people know out there what you had to do with the interior, because it had Gobi in there before with the tan interior, which is tan, the light color floor and seats, and your center console and everything like that you had to pretty much fix up, because I know you weren't happy with any of it when you got the car. So
yeah, the 2004 is very specific in terms of some of the interior parts in regards to the front seats and the center console. So what I did, the center console was pretty trashed. I ended up finding a center console from a 2005 and later model through one of the connections here that I have at IPD. Guy was really nice, got me all the stuff. It's in really good condition. The seats I actually ended up getting off of eBay. They are specific to the 2004 model year. They have a different electrical connector than the 05 to 07. So there is, if you have one of the later models and you do need to switch out seats, it's much easier to find the 05 to 07 seats because they made them for a longer period of time. But it is really nice just to get in here and have a complete set with nothing falling apart and the good quality bolsters that we have.
yeah, I think the interior looks hands down 10 times better than it did before, and it's more comfortable to drive in when everything matches. Why don't you talk a little bit about the headliner? I know you did that as well. The headliner was hanging and sagging, and it looks like you've got a nice new headliner in there. What did you do about that?
Well, I got the headliner from the same gentleman that I got the doors from, just a couple hours south of Portland. The last headliner, somebody had tried to glue some kind of cover fabric over it, so it had spray-on adhesive residue everywhere. This one's not perfect. It's got a couple stains here and there, but much better condition. With the wagons, it's easier to replace than with the sedans. You just gotta unbolt the sun visors and the the door handles, take off a couple pieces of trim in the back, and then you can just slide the whole thing out the back. So with a sedan, I'm not sure. I think you'd have to probably do it with removing the windshield.
Right.
But luckily, didn't have to do anything like that.
So you got a whole new headliner. You didn't do fabric or anything like that. You just bought an entire new headliner.
Just bought a whole new headliner.
Right. Okay. Very cool. It looks great. For people, I know it's hard to see in video, but this one is not sagging. It's in really good condition. Has a few little scuffs here and there, but nothing crazy. It's, like I said, it is 10 times better than before. So nice job on that, bud. Looks great. So when you bought the seats and everything off of eBay, what was the, I mean, shipping? Maybe for folks out there, I mean, normally eBay rolls things into shipping. How did you make that work? Because that's a lot of pieces. Two front seats and the full backs.
Well, this one, actually, I was able to find just the front seats. The guy that I bought the car from had the rears.
That's right.
He just couldn't find the 04 fronts. So through some searching on eBay, I just corresponded back and forth with the seller. He's able to get the stuff on a pallet. It did cost almost as much as the seats did to have it shipped. So I think it was around $300 to have it shipped on a pallet out to Portland, and then I just picked it up in my truck at the local depot.
Nice. And the back looks fantastic. Obviously, this was always good before, you know, the carpet and everything like that was in good shape. So everything that you're doing here, just using it every day, is great. All right, let's talk a little bit about performance. I know, being an enthusiast, obviously you've already done some wheel spacers. We're doing lowering springs. You're going to be doing sway bars, end links, all the works for suspension, tow rods, everything on the back of the vehicle. What did you do as far as performance? I know that it doesn't sound the same as it did when you bought it.
Well, since I have owned ours before, we've had a bunch of ours here. I had an old TME exhaust laying around that the front muffler had rotted out. So took a piece of straight pipe, had it welded in, and then just put the exhaust on the back here. So has a little bit different sound, still fairly quiet, even with removing that front muffler. But does give it a little bit added note, so it's nice.
Yeah. Even though we sell the oval tube TME, we were actually the first ones to import them in the United States many moons ago. And we do have some old TME pieces laying around, but thought just to save money, throw it on the car since it's here, or he had it, and
yeah,
where we went.
So many other things, you know, the seats and all the little pieces that I had to source to make the interior complete. I just thought this was a little way to save some money here and put something to use that we had laying around.
Nice. All right, well, let's get to it. Let's get these struts in there. You have fun with that. We'll show the finished product once we get it on the ground. Obviously, there's still much more to do. We'll update you guys on a later episode. I think we'll bring the PDR guy back out here. There's a few dings on this side, but he's got new doors that were way better. The other ones were scratched and had just tons of dents. This one's only got maybe 2 or 3 that might be looked at. The only other thing on this car that we'll probably do in the next episode and update you guys on is there's a little dent back here that we know our friend who owns a PDR company or paintless dent removal will come out and clean up all of this and get rid of all the little dents and dings. So it'll make the car look phenomenal. But everything else is in really good shape and coming together. So I think it's been a lot of fun seeing you take care of this thing and bring it back to life. Okay. Just got it on the ground for the first time after installing the lowering springs. Yeah?
Yep. Drive around the block, settle it out, retort the wheels, and see how it sits.
Great. All right, we'll just catch up with us on the next episode. Episode 3, we'll be doing more. But yeah, I think that covers a lot. Hopefully you guys all appreciate how much time he's putting into just bringing this thing back to life. It's a great car. We'll see how long she goes. See ya.